Welcome back, everybody. We're on to part 2 of our Build a Better Chironomid series here. As I said in the previous video, I'm going to use the curved nymph style hook for this one. Just to show that, basically tying on these different hooks, the process is still pretty much exactly the same. You're just changing up the sizes is really, and the look is all you're doing. So I've got a 14 curved nymph hook, and that's a 2x long hook. On there I've got a 3/32 bead, and then so with these patterns, my bead sizing is fairly similar. I don't often tie on a size 10. Sometimes the big bombers you can go that big, but for the common sizes in this hook are going to be 12 through to 18. And on the 12s and 12 I'll use the 7/64ths, 14 and 16 the 3/32, and then the 18 is the 5/64ths. So we will get right into this one. We're going to tie some gills onto this pattern. Again, I'm using my ultra thread. It's like I say, it's pretty much my go-to for chironomid patterns. So to get the gills tied in, push the bead back. We'll throw a couple wraps right here close to the eye, work back about 2 bead lengths, roughly, and then come right back up. You want to try to keep your bulk down while you're tying in these gills, just so you can get that bead slid back over top. And then for my gill material, there's all kinds of stuff out there. Right now I'm using uni stretch, but there's just plain old white yarn, there's midge gill, there's Antron, there are all kinds of different things you can use. So feel free to play with that. So I'm just going to hold this stuff up and get it tied in right close to the eye, and I'm going to give it 2 wraps over top, pull it back, and just put 3 or 4 in front, and you'll notice that'll stand that gill right up. And then come back here and just wrap over top back to where we went as we tied in our thread. You can snip that out of there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and whip finish in that same spot, and I'm only going to put 2 turns in there. You can throw a half hitch in there if you like, but you want to make sure you come down those couple bead lengths. So what that's going to do is when you slide the bead back up the hook, you can see you've got your tie off exposed there, and that's going to allow us to reattach and make sure everything's nice and secure. So I'm just going to give a few wraps and in here and just start my taper on this fly. So you can see I've gone kind of back and forth and just covered up my tie off for my gills. And again, you go kind of 2 to 3 bead lengths back, start working the thicker part of your taper. I've got some copper wire here. We tie that in exactly the same as we did in the first video, right tight to the bead, and wind that down the near side of the hook shank. Again, what this is doing is just keeping your body profile nice and consistent. And then I usually stop when my thread hangs down. It's kind of right at where the barb would be. And same thing, use that as your gauge so you keep everything a nice consistent size. Now what I'm going to do is, for this one, I'm just going to use some Flashaboo, but the process I'm doing will work for any type of tinsel. So if you've got a mylar or a spooled tinsel or Flashaboo, crystal flash, anything like that, you can use this same process. So I've just got Flashaboo here on the bigger flies, like this one. I'll use 3 strands. When I go to a shorter pattern, sometimes I'll go to 2, but your choice, not a big deal there. And then I like to tie them in right down at the butt here. So one wrap, do that again here. One wrap will have that secured in place, and then you can pull this down just a little bit, and then it'll be tied right in down near the butt. It keeps things thin, so rather than going, you know, all the way back up again, which is not really necessary. You don't have to. It'll just keep your chironomid body nice and thin. And then if you wrap this, it's such a thin material that you're not really going to be left with a lump or bump as if you would if it was wire or something like that. So now I'm just going to spin this bobbin, come back up the fly a little bit here, and you can see by doing that you've got your taper complete. I mean, there isn't much to it. It's just you know, tying things in the right places, and watching your thread wraps makes a big difference. So now I'll go ahead and wrap my Flashabou, and just take this. This is a gunmetal stuff, so like I say, color, you can, by all means, this pattern I'm tying will catch fish, but like I say, it's more the style we're trying to get across to you. But adapt this style with any color of Flashabou or wire or bead, and it'll hopefully make life a little bit easier. So I've wrapped that up. I'm just going to secure it off with a couple wraps, a couple in behind here, 2 or 3 in front. Snip that out of there. And so now you've formed your body. It's nice and even. It's got a great taper to it. Now you're going to bring your wire up, and so same deal, nice even wraps of wire, and you're shooting for 7 of them. So there's 3, that's 4, 5, 6, and 7 will do her. And then same deal, tuck it up behind the bead, catch it there, give it a couple nice wraps. When you're looking at your thorax or thread collar, I usually like that to be about the same size as my bead. So I'll go ahead and helicopter this out, and then I'm just going to give my bobbin a little spin, make sure my wire's nice and flat, and come up here and just finish off my thorax. Come in with the whip finisher, give her 2 or 3 turns. That's about all there is to it. Your gills, you want to try to make them again about the same size as your bead. So with the uni stretch, don't tug on it when you snip it, because it is a little bit stretchy. You're going to, if you tug on it too much, it'll come out shorter than you want it. So just come in there, straight across, and fluff those up a little bit. But that right there is a good looking little chironomid, and hopefully some of those pointers I mentioned throughout this video will help you. Again, you know, consistency's key when you're dealing with the different sizes and trying to keep things consistent. Doing things the same way each time goes a long way. But give some of those tips a try. I hope you enjoyed them. I'm going to come back with one more video, and that's going to be on kind of the OG type patterns without the bead head. You know, they're not as popular nowadays because the beads make things so easy, but sometimes they really come in handy. So look out for that one. I'll have that out shortly. And again, I hope you're enjoying these and taking a little bit away from the videos. That'll help you out. So there you have it. Until the next one, I will see you guys then. Cheers and tight lines.